Hey, Cannonball Nation. It is February 13th, the day before Love Day, and I am live to you from Kissimmee, Florida, where I am sitting in the mansion setting up for the Club Win retreat this year, our ladies insurance retreat we put on for all insurance agents that want to come. And today, though, we are going to be talking about needs analysis, how to do a proper needs analysis. And then ultimately, I would love to do some hot seat role playing with some of you on the call. Um, so, for starters, though, we're going to go into a needs analysis. Now, I know several of you in this call are versed agents, and you probably have your own way of doing a needs analysis, but it doesn't ever hurt to refresh. And then we also have new agents that are just getting into the business that ultimately don't know anything about a needs analysis. So I thought we would do that today. Now, for me, when I do needs analysis, I I go by I do it by the simple conversation approach. And I find that to be a whole lot less intrusive. It's a lot more comfortable for the client to share their information with us when we do it in more of a conversational flow versus just drilling them with questions, right? Just one question after another because you're literally going down the bullet point of your intake form, which you do have to gather up all that information. But I find if you do it in a conversational manner, it's a whole lot less stressful. You also start to build more of a rapport with the client from the get go because you're just having a conversation instead of being an order taker and drilling down just, well, what's your birthday? Well, what do you do for a living? I mean, and like, are you sick? Are you diabetic? I mean, you're just like, you just hit them bam, bam, bam right off the bat with a lot of these questions. A lot of times they'll run scared or they won't want to give you that information right off the bat. I mean, if the third question out of your mouth is what's your social security number, a lot of times they don't want to give that to you, right? And I see it all the time on Facebook groups of people complaining, be like, "Does anybody else have a problem getting people to give them their social security number?" I'm like, "No, we don't have that problem, but it's not the third question I ask, right? I don't ask for a social security number until I need their social security number. I mean, we'll get there." But it's not, in that initial drill down of a needs analysis. You don't need their social security number to know what plan you're going to put them on. You just need it potentially for the enrollment of a plan after you've decided what you're going to put them on. So that's one thing, first and foremost, I like to get out of the way is, those really secured type information like social security numbers, heck, even Medicare numbers. I don't ask for that until it's theoretically time to ask for that. So when I initially do, a new client, I start with like, "Hey, Miss Smith, it's so great to talk to you. We'll find something if they're local. The weather just went from 80 to 20 degrees overnight, something like that. That proves you are local, that, you're going through the same thing you're going through, that kind of thing." And then, we just start the conversation because usually they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, me and my husband, we're over here freezing." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's so great. Hey, by the way, what's your husband's name again?" They brought it up, right? I didn't even have to ask if they were married. They naturally brought it up. "Oh, what's your husband's name again?" "Oh, that's great. So Bob was born when? What was he born in this cold weather or was he born in the summertime?" You know, and then just, "Oh, no, he was born on, it was hotter than heck back in September in 1941. We had a hot spell," right? It gets them just talking about their life. And if you get people talking about their life and what is going on in their world just naturally, you would be amazed how much of an intake form you could fill out just by listening to them. If you actively listen and then start to steer the conversation down a path that's going to lead you to answers, right? It never fails. You ask somebody, if they're on any medications, they start to tell you all their health conditions. I didn't ask what your health condition was. I just asked if you were on medications or if there's any medications that are important to you that you want the plan to cover. I mean, if they're diabetic, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm on this insulin, I'm on that insulin, I'm diabetic, I have a heart condition, I have gout, I have butt itch. I mean, it's just amazing how they just naturally divulge that information when you talk in a conversational manner versus just trying to drill them to fill out your sheet. So when I do a needs analysis, the things I like to touch base on, is what part of the country they live in. How often do they travel? Um, do they have, certain medications or doctors, obviously, that are important to them? Do they, have money in the bank or not? And that's a hard one sometimes to get around because a lot of people are like, well, what's your budget? Well, in Medicare and ACA nowadays too, because everybody's so used to the $0 plan, that's a terrible way to fish for what kind of budget we're dealing with, right? What's important to you is a better question. Do you want flexibility to use any doctor freedom you want to? Do you travel a lot? Do you want flexibility when you travel? Do you stay at home? Are you more of a homebody and all the doctors just locally are what you use? Um, do you have health history in your family? Like, is cancer, does that run in your family? Does heart attack and stroke run in your family? Because cancer, heart attack and stroke and cardiovascular disease, you can legally ask them those specific health questions. And that's twofold. That might tell you that they could potentially qualify for a chronic plan. And it also may tee you up for a bundle. Like, no, no, I don't have cancer, but my mom and dad both had it. Well, now you know it runs in their family. And why wouldn't you bring up and tee up a cancer plan when you start showing them their options? Now is not the time to say that, but you start making mental notes or even notes on your paperwork that, they have a history in their family of cancer, or they have a history in their family of heart, because those are important things to talk about when you start to build your package of protection for that client. Other things that are also important, like do they have kids? Do they have grandkids? Get them talking about their family because the way they talk about their family will tell you how important their family is. Because not everybody's family is as important as other people's. I hate to say that, but it's not true. Or maybe they don't have kids. And when you want to know about the family, because now you're looking down the road, maybe there's a life insurance sale here. They got somebody to leave something to, or maybe, there's an annuity sale here, or long-term care is important because they don't want to leave the burden of long-term care on their kids. These are all important details that you can have in a conversational format that you can take 10-15 minutes and just have a conversation with a client kind of about who they are, their life, their family's life history, past history. Somebody talks to me, if that was the client, and they get into like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm in insurance, but I didn't used to be, because I will always talk about the horse business because it's a huge part of my life. And my family, my father and my brother are still in the horse business and still in the farm and ranch business. Well, when somebody says something like that, that should automatically ding, ding, ding in the back of your head. Ooh, accident prone, right? Anybody that works on a ranch around livestock, there's always a need for accident type situation. There's lots of, idiosyncrasies where they can get hurt and end up in the ER. Or maybe if they are in the farm ranch business and they, travel and show, well, now they're crossing state lines. That's another ding dinging in your head that you need to start tracking this in the conversation because it's going to tell you what you need to sell the person, what they need. If you listen to them properly and make notes of the little idiosyncrasies about their life, you will be able to circle back around and be like, all right, Miss Smith. So I understand that you have some family history of cancer. And I also know that, you travel around because you have this wonderful show dog. That is so cool. I love that. But you do travel a lot to show this dog. Those are two very interesting facts. Well, if I was looking at a T65, I mean, we have to show everything, right? We have to show the advantage. We have to show the supplement. But I'm still going to point out the fact that one product is a whole lot more user friendly when you travel a lot. One product, if you have lots of accidents, is going to have more comprehensive coverage if you are accident prone. One product crosses state lines much better than the other one. And the other thing is somebody that tells me they show dogs or show animals of any kind, they have a little bit of money they can throw away. Because if you're in the livestock business as a hobby, it doesn't matter if it's dogs, cows, horses, chickens, all of it. It's expensive. I have chickens because I like fresh eggs. But at the end of the day, my chickens cost me way more money than it is to buy eggs at the grocery store. I promise. If I did the math on it, I am losing big time. But you know what? It's really cool to be able to send my son out when it's cold and we want some eggs and we forgot to go to the grocery store and he can just go get some out of the coop. That's a really cool thing. That's a convenience and a neat thing to teach a kid, right? But ultimately, those eggs are way more expensive than grocery store eggs because I am not an egg farmer. So, and anytime anybody does anything in the livestock business, the dog business, as a hobby, they have extra money to spend because any hobby like that costs more money than not. So, when I know somebody's like that and I know they travel, well, they probably can afford that med sup. They probably can't afford that cancer bundle package if they got cancer in their family, right? And I learned that from just talking to them. I didn't have to ask what their budget was. I asked about their life, and the way they live their life tells me, for the most part, what their budget is. The other thing is you get away from budget when you find somebody that has a lot of health history running in their family, or they're concerned about health or going to the doctors, even if they don't have a lot of room in their budget, if those are serious concerns, that's still somebody that's going to spend more for their medical health benefits than somebody else because they find value in it, because they're worried about it. They know they need to be covered. It's valuable to them. And when you learn things about that, people like that, then you know how to pivot and what to position for the sale. You get somebody in that's, they mention how talk about groceries or they talk about the election. And the only reason they're talking about the election because they're worried about what's going to happen with the groceries, what's going to happen with inflation, what's going to happen with their electric bill. Somebody like that, my natural question is, have have you applied for extra help? Has somebody ever told you about that? I don't even know what their income is, but if they're sitting here really struggling and you can hear it in their voice, I'm going to ask and they're going to most of the time they're like, "No, what's that?" I'm like, "Well, it helps seniors, with their prescription medications and sometimes the premiums depending on your income. What is your income?" And now I can ask that question because it sparked their interest in it without just drooling and asking for it first. Because some people are embarrassed to tell you what their income is, whether it's low or high. They're embarrassed. So if you give them a reason, a need to know why I need to know that income and potentially can help them, they're a whole lot more forthcoming in telling you without any pushback. Right? Because the idea here is to build rapport that you can ask them any question that you need to know at any given time, and they're going to tell you because they know you're only asking because you think you might be able to help them with something if depending on what the information is they give you. That's another reason why I don't ask for those big highfalutin social security numbers and things like that until the very end when I'm in the application writing it and I need it. Because by the time I've gotten that far, they'll give me their social, they'll give me their bank account, they'll give me their kids' socials, they'll give me their kids' bank accounts, they'll give me the keys to their house because I didn't ask and push for any of that in the beginning. I built that rapport. I found their pain points. And then I built a package of protection around their actual pain points. It's custom to them. I'm not selling the same product to the same person the same way with every appointment. It's all customizable, it's all personable. And when you have a personal business with your client, a few things happen. Your retention stays really well. The client only wants to deal with you. I will warn you though, when you sell like that and you're good at it, it is a little tricky down the road when you start building a team because you have so many clients that you can't handle them all and you have to bring on help. They get very what's the word? Uh needy for you. Like they just want you. That does a little problematic on the end. So you have to come and retrain them to work with your staff. But that's a good problem to have at the end of the day because that means you have very loyal customers. You have customers that want to do business with you. The other thing I very stress is to know the products in your area and to know what are good fit for the group of people that are lower income and the good fit for the group of people that move around. Like I can tell you right now where I live, Medico rates really well. Blue Cross is a little higher. Humana rates decent. Manhattan Life rates decent. Mucho of Omaha can rate kind of high. I know that there is 3 PPO plans in our area and only 2 of them have a $0 premium. The other ones are expensive. I know we have 2 dual options with 2 dual carriers. I know this stuff off the top of my head. I know most of the plan benefits off the top of my head. You want dental and you want a PPO? Well, then you want the Blue Cross Dental Premier PPO with the $5,000 benefit and the $0 premium plan. Oh, dental's not important to you, you want to give back? Well, great. Let's look at the Humana plan then. You know, these are the things you should know off the top of your head because when you're having the simple conversation, you can then interject tiny little bits of information of a plan that you think just by hearing from them that would be of interest to them. And when you do that, they're like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. Let's look at that. And when you know the plans well enough like that, or know the doctors in your area well enough to know, oh, you want Dr. Doggett? Well, he only takes this. So if that doctor is important to you, then we need to look with this carrier because he's the only plan he takes. That will save you so much time and energy constantly going to your Medicare centers and looking and looking and looking by knowing some of this stuff already for your local market off the top of your head. And that helps keep that simple conversation easy and flowing because now you're not having to take 20 minutes and look up everything in the area to continue the conversation. You can just continue the flow of that conversation. And as they talk, you write. And by the time it's all said and done, the way I sell, we're finally done with our conversation. And they have a nice little packet put together with all their docs in it. And I hand it to them. And they're like, oh my God, are we done? I'm like, yeah. They're like, that was so easy. It's because I made it easy. I didn't stress them out about it. I took them on a journey that told me what they ultimately would want and put on, and they made some key decisions along the way. But I didn't bog them down with so much stuff that at the end of the day is useless to them right now. You got to deal in the moment with your client. You got a client that's got a million questions, answer the million questions. You got a client that wants you to take them down the path that they need. That's why you do a proper needs analysis, because then you can say wholeheartedly at the end of that, conversation, be like, well, Mr. Smith, I really think a med sup is probably the way you should go. Or you know what, Mrs. Smith, you don't leave your area much and you're very budget conscious and you're pretty healthy. I think we should look at an Advantage plan. Or, oh, so your husband doesn't have insurance either and he's only 63? Well, we could get you on this plan and we can also put him on an ACA plan and get him covered too. Even though they never asked about him, but you listened intently to the conversation, and asked key questions for you to know that now there's somebody else in the house that's not on Medicare. They need insurance too. Or there's somebody else in the house that's on group health, but they should have been on Medicare and they're way overpaying because the group health pays half of it, so they think they got a deal. But ultimately, you could save them $300 a month by moving the whole family to Medicare. The key with a simple conversation needs analysis is to understand the client. That's all I'm ever trying to do is understand where the client is today, where the client is worried about in the future, and then I'm marrying that to a proper product or a package of products depending on their needs. And I think so many agents get so caught up in just, I gotta sell the advantage plan, or I gotta sell stuff, like so caught up in just the main piece. And then they feel so relieved when they sell it that they did not pay attention to the conversation and realize they missed out on 3 other sales because they were so focused on just getting that one thing written instead of taking a breath and having a conversation with the client to really hear the client's needs. There's lots of times you're only going to sell one thing, and that's great. But there are many, many times I see it in my own office. I'll walk by a desk and I can hear the conversation and they're not bringing up these other things. And I will walk in, I will intervene, I will introduce myself and let them know they're working with a great agent. And then I'll be like, by the way, has she told you about this yet? Because that is fabulous. And from what I overheard, I think it would really fit for you. And they're like, no, she hasn't told us about that. And I'm like, well, make sure you ask her because she knows it. She'll tell you. And then it's simple. It's just the agent hadn't gotten there yet. So it's a reminder to my agent at the desk. And then also, I'm already putting in that in the client's head that you should ask about this. It would fit what you need from what I'm hearing. And now they want to know about it. They're almost excited to know about it. It's like they think the agent was holding something back, like keeping something secretive. And everybody wants to know what the big secret is, right? They all want to know. So now all of a sudden they're excited to hear about this cancer plan, or they're excited to hear about this GTL short-term plan, or they're excited to hear about this dental plan that has unlimited benefits, right? It's all in the way you tee it up. It's a custom package built on their needs based on a comfortable conversation that you would have with your friend sitting on the couch in your house. And make sure you are listening properly. Now, I would actually like to put a couple of people on the hot seat. I can pair you together, or you can pair off with me. Who is brave enough to go in the hot seat? And what this is role play. I will be the client and you will be the agent. Or I can pick on 2 of you and one of you can be the client, one of you can be the agent. And it's a role play type situation. I call it hot seat. I do it in my office quite often, randomly out of the blue. Usually first thing in the morning, I'll grab 2 chairs, put them together, and I will just pick 2 people and sit them down. And I will give one of them a scenario, like they're the client and they have a scenario, and that agent has got to figure out what the client needs and how to sell it to them. Who's brave enough to go up to a hot seat? Don't make me call on somebody because I will. Allie.
I knew it was going to be me. No
All right.
courage.
No, none of y'all have any courage, and I'm disappointed because some of you guys are very versed agents, and this is a great trick you ultimately should be doing even with a family member, or for those of you who have teams or starting to build teams, you should be doing this with your team. It's amazing because ultimately you'll be very nervous in this, and that's okay because this is a learning environment. But when you become not nervous doing this, can you imagine how much better you are with a client or on the phone, right? So,
Mhm.
Allie, I'm your client. And do you sell, remind me, do you sell ACA or Medicare? What's your wheelhouse?
Both, but mainly Medicare.
Mainly Medicare. Okay, so I'll be a Medicare client. That's all I'm going to tell you. So you can tell by looking at me that I'm old, okay? But everything else you're going to have to get for yourself, okay?
Okay.
So do you want to do a
Um,
phone call or an in-person appointment?
okay, yeah, phone call.
Okay. So
Hey, okay, sorry.
the
Yeah.
phone
I don't
rings,
know much
ring,
about
ring,
role
ring,
playing.
ring, ring, ring. You're just gonna pretend like you're calling a lead. So you're calling me, okay? And I'm a lead that you, let's say you got from United Healthcare or something, okay?
Okay.
So ring, 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 ring. Hello?
Hi, is this Rebecca?
It is. Who's calling?
This is Allie. I'd like to talk to you about Medicare today.
And I just hung up on you.
Okay. I don't normally cold call, sorry.
So you have to create interest in the client initially, and when you just throw out there, I want to talk to you about Medicare. Well, yeah, they're gonna hang up on you in your minute, right? It's okay. Let's try again. Ring, 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 ring. Hello?
Hi, is this Rebecca?
It is. Who's calling?
This is Allie. How's your day going?
Oh, it could be warmer. Definitely. I'm about out of firewood.
Oh, yeah, same here. Okay. I'm not good at this. Sorry.
That's why you're doing it.
I do not know. I don't know what is a good transition, honestly. I mean, normally my calls are scheduled, a person has reached out to me. And so, um, yeah, I don't have a good plan for this. So I do need to practice more.
Okay. So we'll flip it around. I'll be the agent, you be the client.
Okay.
Ring, 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 ring.
Hello?
Hey, Allie, it's Rebecca. Are you staying warm?
Oh, I'm trying to. I can't stand the winter.
I know, neither can I. I just sent my husband out for another thing of firewood. I just can't get over how it was 80 degrees yesterday and 20 degrees today.
I know it's never, the weather is never right when they tell us what it's going to be.
I know. I just keep waiting for them to cancel school on my son.
Same here.
Okay, time out for a second. She just said same here. What does that tell you? She's got kids, right? But here's the thing. She's supposed to be a Medicare client. So now I got a Medicare person with kids. What does that tell me? If I don't have a birthday in front of me, that's one of two things. I either got a disabled, an SDI Medicare person, right? You know, a disabled person on Medicare, or I potentially probably have a grandmother situation that's taking care of her grandkids, right? So that's
Right.
my first mental thought here. Okay. Okay. So climb back into script here. So same here. Oh, what grade are they in, Allie?
Senior
In high school or
in high
college?
school.
In
In
high
high
school.
school.
Oh my goodness. Are they fixing to graduate? I bet you're so proud.
Yep, we can't wait, but I bet they can.
Okay, time out again. Did you hear it saying she said we can't wait? So now that's a trigger that she's probably married or has a significant other, right? You said the word we. Now I got two in the household and a kid. And I haven't
Right.
asked any of these questions yet. We're just talking right now. Allie's trying to figure out who is this person because she acts like she knows me, and I'm rolling through my database, and I don't have a Rebecca in my phone. Who is this? But they know me, right? That's what you're. That's what she's thinking right now. She's trying to figure out how I know her because we're friends, obviously, but she can't figure out who I am. Okay, so
Mhm.
graduating. That is so exciting. Is this the last one?
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Well, I don't mean to keep you, but the reason for my call today is United Healthcare let me know that you had reached out and had some Medicare questions. And so I'm just calling to follow up on those questions. Did you have questions about your current plan or were you exploring new options?
My husband is going to be retiring, and so we are going to be going off of his insurance, and we need to look into Medicare.
Well, perfect. Has he worked for that company a long time?
Yes, he's been there 30 years.
Oh my goodness. What does he do?
He works at Texas Instruments.
Oh, well, good for him. That's a good retirement, I bet, at 30 years there. So is he just now turning 65 or is he like more like 67 or something?
He's 67
He's perfect. 67. And when does he turn 68?
in June.
June. Perfect. Well, that's exciting. I'm happy for him that he gets to retire. Okay, so time out again. So now we got a husband. She's obviously younger. She's married an older man. He's retiring, 30 years Texas Instruments. So that tells me somebody who's been on group health for 30 years. He's had dental, he's had vision, he's had all the things for 30 years. He's used to paying for this stuff. And ultimately, if he's been somewhere like that for 30 years, he probably has a decent retirement package. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking right now in this conversation. And generally, somebody that's worked that long and still working, they're probably on the healthier side. Okay, so now I would go back into okay, so we're turning 68 in June, we're fixing to retire. Is there any specific reason why he's retiring, or is it just time?
It's just time.
So that also tells me in the same breath that he probably is on the healthier side. Well, perfect. So if your husband's retiring, does that mean you're also going to be looking for health insurance as well? Because you're probably on his group plan too.
Yes,
And then are you gonna need insurance for your son as well, or is he going off on his own once he graduates?
he would probably need insurance as well.
So I've already now have sold three plans, and we haven't even talked about insurance policies yet because I know now the husband needs Medicare, mom is gonna lose group health and needs insurance, and they got a son fixing to graduate that still needs insurance, right? So these are the things going on in my head. So now I'm going to go play back onto the whole retirement thing. So, Ali, since you got a kid that's fixing to graduate, you're going to be empty nesters and your husband's retiring. Do you guys plan on traveling? Are you going to
We
finally
do.
travel?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
where are you
bought a
guys going to go?
camper.
Oh, you got a camper. Fantastic. I'd love to travel. Where's your first destination?
Big Bend.
Big Bend. Isn't that Utah?
It's in
I think.
Texas.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
Texas. That was Utah. So now I know they're fixing to travel. They have a camper, so they're probably not traveling overseas, but they plan on probably using that camper and going around a lot. So, Allie, what are some things that are most important to you in an insurance policy?
Keeping our doctors, having a large network.
Having a large network. Okay. Do you have any specific doctors you're currently seeing that you want to continue to see?
Yes, I have a list.
Perfect. And then you get that list, obviously. And then
Mhm.
what about medications? Is anybody on any medications we need to make sure that are covered?
Uh, I take a generic and he takes one as well.
Perfect.
And that's
Perfect.
it.
And that's it. Fantastic. Um, and then let's see. Let me think here what else I would need. Do you guys know anything about Medicare yet, or are you truly new? I know some of my clients nowadays, they internet's so user friendly that they do a lot of exploring on their own. Have you done anything like that, or do we need to start from the beginning?
We've heard a lot of things, but I really don't know what's what.
Okay. So at this point, some of the things I would go, because I'm not going to go into a whole sales process for you guys, because it's more about getting there, right? And
Mhm.
just in that silver conversation, in 4 or 5 minutes, I learned we got a man retiring later in life. He's married to a younger woman that also has a child graduating high school, and they plan on traveling. I mean, to me, I'm we're going to talk about Medicare. We're going to talk about the card. We're going to give the T chart about a Medicare Advantage and a Med Sup. I already know though they're going to buy the Med Sup, and then we're going to do a prescription drug package. We're probably going to see if we can qualify them for some help on the ACA side. But with them traveling, I'm probably going to do a second tier policy, either an HI plan or a GAP plan. So to make sure Allie and her son is also covered while traveling. So these are the thoughts in my head right off the get go. Plus, I know they're coming off of group health where they probably had dental, vision, hearing coverage as well. So I'm teeing all this up in my head on what I'm going to most likely quote them. But at this point now, I'm just going to start explaining Medicare, how it all works, and things like that, and teaching them that piece. And then I'm also going to ask at this piece, because a lot of our people coming off a group that they don't have their Part B yet. So, Allie, does your husband have his Medicare card yet?
No,
He doesn't have any part of it yet?
no, he plans to apply next month.
Okay. So I don't know if this would be helpful for you, but we can help you through the applying process if you would like, or he could definitely just do it on his own. Which would you all prefer?
He can do it on his own. He's already been looking into it.
Okay, perfect. Um, so here's the thing too. So I got Allie's on the phone by herself. Her husband's really needs to hear this information though when I start explaining the Medicare card and the Medicare Advantage and stuff. So at this point, I'm gonna get a few more pieces of information. And then what I want to do is set up a time where I can talk to both of you, right? I'm going to do some research, Allie. I'm going to get some plan options put together. But when we circle back around, I would like to make sure he's with you so I can explain the Medicare piece and how it works. And legally, I'm supposed to talk to him about that. I absolutely will talk to both of you and we can do this together, but we will need Tim around for that piece. But well, in the meantime, I can do some research and get kind of everything put together that I think is going to fit your needs. And then we can talk about that too on the next call or the next appointment. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Perfect. So now I'm just going to set up an appointment. Ideally, it would be after he's applied for his Medicare card, right? Because rates can change. If he applies this week, great, rates probably are stable. But let's say it is February and he's not going to retire till, let's say, birthday till June, our rates could change a little bit. So what I would do is like, great, Allie, let's put you tentatively on the calendar for this. And as long as he has already applied for his Medicare, then we can circle back around and have that full conversation with you and your husband. And so I'm just trying to, at this point, because he doesn't have a Medicare card yet, we're still several months away from retirement. We're going to just keep this bouncing ball going. Normally in my normal circumstance, just for reference, I would really be trying to help them with the Medicare piece of applying. That way they're back in my office or back on my phone in about a month or supplying, and then I get to have another conversation with them again. That way we don't go 3 or 4 months without talking. Does that make sense?
Yes. Hmm.
But I have lots of clients that do it on their own and they circle back around to us. If they're going to do it on their own, I try to at least get a scope. And then I also send them my prescription drug and doctor form just for them to double check and give me their med list. And then so now they're actively submitting me stuff after the call that also helps secure that relationship that now they're officially working with us. It's more than just a one time conversation that we're working together to
Yeah.
ultimately find a package of protection. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure. Yep.
And that's generally how I do my calls. It's really more like almost like calling your neighbor. I'll get to the insurance part, but
Mhm.
I treat it more like calling my neighbor.
Yeah, I definitely need to practice at this. I realize I don't have any consistency for when I contact my clients or leads. Yep.
And the consistency will come because even as inconsistent that the conversations will be when you do a simple conversation style call, you will still find flow, and you will still learn to when to pivot, how to pivot, and what to ask next by what you hear the client say. And that's part of the reason why I love the just natural conversation flow. Because, like, I found out you had a son graduating. I found out you have a husband retiring. I found out you're going to lose health insurance. Found out you guys are traveling. I found out that you're all pretty healthy without me having to drill down and just ask those questions. And it just is a so much easier conversation on the client. Because next thing you know, you will technically have everything you need to quote them, but they never felt like they were drilled for anything. And it makes them a lot more relaxed and open to talking to you. Do you see how that works like that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. And thank you for playing along because I know hot seat, especially if you've never done it, it is so nerve-wracking. All
That's
right, so
okay.
now
Yeah, thank you.
we're gonna flip it around, and now you're gonna be the agent again. We're gonna try this one more time and see where you go with it. Okay.
Okay.
Ring, 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 ring. Hello.
Hey, is this Rebecca?
It is.
Going.
I'm sorry. Hello.
Hello. Oh,
Okay,
sorry. Did
so
my son?
your
Oh,
biggest hesitation is you're hesitating.
okay.
You don't want to ask, is this Rebecca? You just want to assume this is Rebecca, right? If you're calling
Okay.
Rebecca's phone, surely it's Rebecca. Unless you hear a man's voice, then you may not, question. If I heard a man's voice and I'm calling Rebecca's phone, I'd be like, hey, this is Allie. I'm trying to get a hold of Rebecca. Is she there? Assume that you're either are talking to him or not talking to him. Don't,
Okay. Yes.
because the minute somebody asks, like, is this, like, when you, and this happens to me in real life all the time, is this Rebecca? The first thing out of my mouth is who's calling. And if they don't drop it like that, I'm hanging up on
Hmm.
them. And then if they drop it like that and it's not somebody I want to talk to or requested a call, I'm hanging up on them. I don't have time for it, just like you don't or anybody else. So when you lead into presumptuous that you are talking to the person that you're supposed to be talking to right from that, believe me, if they're not that person, they will let you know. But if you know you're calling a man and a woman answers, then you'd be like, hey, this is Allie. I'm looking for Mark. Is that your husband? Right? Or but if it is a woman and you're calling a woman, assume that is the right person and just be like, hey, this is Allie, Rebecca. How are you doing? Are you staying warm? You notice how I asked like two questions after I
Yeah.
said, hey, this is Allie, this is Rebecca? Because now I got their mind thinking on the two questions and not so much who's Allie.
Right. Hmm.
Let's try it one more time. Ring, 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 ring. Hello?
Hey, Rebecca, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. I received a notification for Blue Cross. Oh gosh, I'm doing it already. I'm trying to get into the business because I really just feel like I'm supposed to do that.
Yep. Well, I
Okay,
suggest,
I haven't.
yeah, you need to practice this more. And if nothing else, I would start writing out a little script. There's nothing wrong with an initial script.
Yes.
And once you just kind of, because what the script is going to do for you is it's going to hold you back from diving into the insurance question too fast.
Hmm.
I mean, you only got
Yeah.
about 60 seconds. You want to get a lot of this spit out in 60 seconds to 120 seconds and then get into the insurance because you don't want to wait too long. And some of that's for compliance reasons. But I got to get their mind opened up and talking to me, because if their mind doesn't open and start talking to me, they're never going to talk to me and they're just going to hang up on me.
Right. Hmm.
So I have homework for you. I'm going to have you write me a script and you can email it to me. Okay. And I just want a script for like the first 60 to 120 seconds of the conversation. I want your opening script. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Anybody else want to try?
I'll try Rebecca so you don't have to draft one of the three of us on here.
Well, perfect. Well, you're definitely more of a veteran, so this should be old hat for you. Do we want to do ACA or Medicare?
I want to do, can you hear me?
Yep.
Um, let's do Medicare cold
Okay.
call from a BRC.
Okay. Perfect. Ring, 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 ring. Hello?
Hey, Rebecca, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm cold. How are you?
I'm good too. I'm cold here too. It's like in the 20s. What about there?
Yeah, I think it was like 11 degrees or something last I looked.
Oh my God, girl, that's crazy. Well, how was your New Year's?
Oh, it was good. Quiet, but good.
Oh, awesome, awesome. A lot of grandkids and stuff came around.
No, not really. We just have the one, so I mean, it's ultimately very quiet, but it was good.
Oh, Rebecca, I hear a dog in the background barking. Do you have any dogs?
I do. I have a little dash hound, and she likes to bark at anything that moves.
Oh my God, girl, I got like two Shih Tzus and they bark at their shadows, but I just love them. How old is yours?
She is 5 in people years, 35 in
Oh,
dog years.
5. Yeah, that's 35. Well, 35, that's still pretty young, but you know what? I saw here that your birthday's coming up and you'll
It
be
is.
65. So happy early birthday.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I
Uh,
try not to remind
absolutely.
myself.
Now, has anyone contacted you or have you started looking at your Medicare? Do you know how it works? Do you have any questions?
Well, I've honestly been trying to avoid the phone because it just nonstop calls with Medicare, and it's always some foreigner that I can't understand.
Oh, I totally 100% relate. But let me tell you, I'm a Texas girl and I'm located right here, and you'll be able to understand everything I say, except for maybe with a little bit of accent.
Well, I'm in Texas too, so I can speak Texan.
Oh, good. Two Texas girls. I love it. I'm from East Texas Hooks. Where are you from?
I'm over by Granbury.
I know exactly where that's at. I'm a little bit closer now in Dallas.
Perfect, perfect.
Right. Well, have you looked on Medicare, signed up for it? Did you get your Medicare and U book?
Um, no, I didn't get the book. I do have my card because I just started. I already have my Social Security, so my card came.
Oh, great. So you were already taking your Social Security early,
Yes, ma'am.
so that
Yeah,
came
after
automatic.
Sonny died, I needed to add some more money to my income.
Totally understandable. That makes a lot of sense. Did you notice the premium that they're taking out of your part for your Part B?
Yeah, I about fell over when I saw that.
Well, did anyone tell you that there is a program called Extra Help that is through the Social Security office that you can apply for that can help you pay part or partial or at least nothing else get your prescription medications reduced?
No, nobody's told me about that.
Well, there is a program, and I can actually help you apply for that if you'd like once we're done with the call. Is there any questions that you had about Medicare? Have you started using it yet? Because it's not effective until the first day of your month of birth.
No, no. I mean, I have it somewhere. I think I put it in the safe. I didn't know what
That's a
to do
good
with
place
it.
for it. That's a good place for it, Rebecca. That is a good place for it. Well, I don't need your Medicare card number or anything, but I would love to let you know or go over how it works. Do you make your all your decisions or do you have anyone that helps you?
Unfortunately, I have to, make all the decisions around here.
Don't you hate that? I just hate that.
I do. I wish somebody would just come over and cook and clean and miraculously, just run my life for me.
Well, I cannot run your life when you are cook and clean, but what I can do is be your advisor, your counselor, and your advocate for your Medicare. And I can explain to you how A, B works, and then what your options are so that you avoid any penalties that may come along if you don't enroll in at least a Part D plan. Would you be interested in that?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
That's awesome. And a lot of the plans nowadays, there's several different options, but have you seen the ones that are on TV and they talk about those supplemental benefits like the vision and the dental?
Yeah, yeah. I have a implant, so dental is really not that important to me.
Oh, great. That's awesome. I need some of those so I don't have to keep on going to the dentist, right? All right. Well, we can talk about this now, or Rebecca, we can set up a time. I can even come and drive out and meet with you. We can do a Zoom, whatever's more comfortable for you. But I'd like to get permission to call you back and we set up a time where you can sit down with your notes and your questions and we go over this.
Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna time you out, Regina. Um, Allie, did you listen to that?
Yes.
Okay.
That was pretty
Now I'm gonna
good.
put you on the hot seat because Regina was good and I figured she would be.
Oh,
If
oh
you listen
no.
to that, what takeaways do you have about the client?
Uh, well, I don't know. My brain is really shorting. Um, just general personal stuff. I was mostly listening to her piece and how she explains, she kind of puts a little bit of info in there and then kind of goes back out.
Mhm. Yeah. She kind of like dangles a carrot and then goes a different direction and then dangles a
Right.
carrot, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's very good. That's kind of circling back to figuring out their needs and stuff, right? So when she asks about the commercials, most Medicare people have seen the commercials and they usually
Right.
have a feeling, one way or the other. Oh yeah, I seen that Medicare Advantage crap, or like, oh yeah, I want the one that's $0 everything, right? They have an opinion, and it's usually a very high one way or the other. So asking about the commercials was a great little swing there to figure out what your client's thinking. But if you listen to the client part, I had a grandson. I mentioned something about a sonny that used to, that's probably my husband that's gone because I had to draw Social Security. Well, if I took early Social Security because I needed money, I'm probably not making a ton, right? Those are all the little components that are important that you should ultimately be having little side notes or that should trigger follow-up questions. Like Regina mentioned extra help, right? She went right to it. And then she talked about extra benefits, and I mentioned I had implants. Well, if I have implants or dentures, dental coverage isn't going to be why I buy my insurance, right? So those are the key pieces there that you can pick up on in that simple conversation. Good. Good, Regina.
I wasn't sure. I needed to see if I still had it in me.
Good. Was this helpful?
Yes.
Good. Do you have any questions? Anybody got any questions?
No, I just like to, there's only a few of us on here, but I'm always one that, I mean, you hear my dog in the background. That's
Mhm.
why I said it. So I like to pay attention to what's in the background if I'm on the phone. So if I hear
Mhm.
kids, I know that they're either grandkids, nasty, somebody's either babysitting or they have young children. So I like to be, courteous of, oh, the baby's crying. Would you like to step away and just kind of quiet her, pick her up and come back to the phone or whatever? Because otherwise you're going to get, you know what, I need to go, because of the stuff in the background. To hear the dogs. So I want to know. That's how I led into her birthday. Oh, your birthday's coming up. Because most time if you buy leads, they bake on their birthday T65s. And then went into that. I want to ask about the dogs, what kind you have. Next time I talk to Rebecca, I'm going to ask about her little dachshund. I'm going to ask what's its name is, where it's at. I don't hear it. You know, I like to do those types of things and put them in my notes so that they know I paid attention to
Right.
their stuff.
And that's how you find out too, Allie, like what's important to the client. So we have one client, I mean, legit story, that she's big with her dogs. Her dogs are her life. And when we have like Santa or the Easter Bunny out for pictures, she always brings her dogs to get pictures with them. And we let them take pictures and stuff with the dogs. Well, she posted that on Facebook that the dog had passed, that she had to put it down. And I saw that, and the office went out of their way to make sure we sent a condolences card and sent, our thoughts and prayers, and if they were going to do anything special for the dog. And that meant so much to her because for her, the dog was her child. You know what I mean? but not everybody
Right.
looks at an animal that way. So finding out like what's important, and even when you do an in-home appointment, look around the house, look at the pictures, ask questions about like who's in the picture, how long ago was this? You look so young, things like that. Those are all just rapport building activities. And if you can get, the quicker you can get to that rapport, the harder it is for the client to not want to continue the conversation.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Ma'am, you came off of mute. Did you have a question, sweetie?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. You mentioned that it was, quote, legal to ask about, I guess it's the heart disease and the diabetes because
You can
there's
answer,
plans.
yeah, you can ask me about diabetics, cardiovascular disorder, and heart issues because of the chronic plan.
You said diabetics, cardiovascular, and what was the other?
Heart conditions,
Okay.
because that's all part of the chronic plan.
So the kidney failure isn't part of that or
No, kidney
legal?
failure is absolutely not, because they took the ESRD off of any application a few years ago, so that eliminated that question that you can legally ask.
Okay, because I'm kind of struggling with some of the legal things and the regulations that I've got to meet. And the transition to the SOA, because if they call me or someone has referred them to me and I call them and I start talking to them, I need to be recording that call. Plus, I need to set up an SOA to talk to them on any following calls, correct? Or I'm not sure where that falls.
So you need a scope of appointment to talk about plans. If you're not talking about plans, if you're just talking about traditional Medicare, the difference between Medicare and Advantage plan, you don't need a scope. You need a scope when you actually start talking about the nuts and bolts of any particular plan.
Okay,
And that
so
scope is good for as long until it's basically used, right? So if it's a T65, like Regina just did, and my birthday's in March, that scope will be good and basically until I pick a plan, because it's my T65. And then once I pick a plan with you, that scope is done. And if I have to change the plan, then I have to get a new scope.
okay, but if I have to call them for a discussion, uh, well, let's say I want to talk to them about
Well,
a,
you have to have a permission. If you're calling, you have to have a permission to contact, right? So that's why Regina said a BRC card. So she called, basically had permission, a permission card to call somebody. And so that gave her permission to call. That did not give her permission to show product, though. All that did was give her permission to call.
so if I get a referral from somebody, I don't have permission to call them based on that
You
referral?
absolutely do not. Nope. If in fact, when I have agents try to refer me people all the time in other states that they're not working in, and I thank them profusely, I'm like, that's fantastic. But unfortunately, because of the Medicare rules, I cannot call this person. Here is my number. They can call or text me. And then once they have reached out, then I can call them.
Rebecca, just for clarification, I know, but just for clarification, can you explain exactly what a BRC card is?
So it generally there are cards that you'll collect at an event most of the time, and they put their name and their phone number and an email. It's just usually just an information gathering card. And with that card, you have permission to call them. You can email them, you can call them, you can text them, because that ultimately has given them permission to you to contact them. So it's permission to contact is what it actually is. But it is only permission to contact. You can't do anything else with it. And if Regina gets a BRC card from a client, she can't technically hand it to you, Pam, and ask you to work it, because that's that 1-to-1 FCC rule that's coming out. So you get the card for yourself and you cannot give it to somebody else. Now, if you have an agency, and like when we go out into the field, we gather leads for a Cannonball. They're giving Cannonball insurance permission to contact. So anybody that's in my Cannonball home office organization that works under that umbrella can call them. But I couldn't turn around and give you that lead to call, because you're not actually part of, even though you're in our system, you're not an official employee. So that wouldn't work for you. It has to be a 1-to-1 contact.
And the rules for like the ones that you get in the mail. Like, can you explain those exactly?
So yeah, so if you're doing like a lead mail drop with a BRC card on it, it works very much the same way, but the mail drop piece has to be about you. It has to specifically have like your insurance name, your number on it, and then they're giving that person or that one organization like Cannonball permission to call. So it works the same way. All they are is permission to contact. So with that, you can technically call them. You could even go knock on their door. That's a permission to contact. Now, you can't sit there and sell them a product because you don't have that permission, but you have permission to get in touch with them. However, you want to get in touch with them, they've given you permission to do that.
Okay, and once I enroll them, if I want to contact them for an ancillary project, plan.
They're already your client then, so you can call them because they're in they're your client at that point. You already have the permission to contact because they're your client. But if you were going to sell them a different Medicare product, you have to rescope them.
Okay, and all these calls have to be recorded because they're all marketing calls and sales calls
If it's about Medicare, yes.
if it's about Medicare, yeah. Well, the ancillary plans are not a Medicare, so they don't have to be, right?
Technically, no, as long as they're not in the Medicare conversation call. Now, I would recommend you record it, but by the rules, no. Like a HIP plan or a dental plan does not have to be recorded.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. All right, ladies. I have all ladies. It's funny to have all ladies on tonight, considering I'm at a ladies' event. But we are over our time. But this was good, I think. I appreciate the participation. I know this hot seat is very uncomfortable. Allie, you have a little homework. I expect that from you. And Pam, if you would like to do the same homework, and Laura, I would love to see it. Just, you're like first 60 to 120 seconds of an opening of a call, just so you can get that rapport, right? We're almost biting our tongue for 6 seconds to ultimately try to create a mini relationship so you get somebody actually talking to you. So that is your homework. You can email it to me. I would love to see it, and we can talk about it again another time. But I think this was good. We'll probably do a little more of this throughout the year, especially as we have a bunch of new agents coming on that probably need this. And again, thanks y'all for participating. Thanks, Regina, Allie, for being brave. And I will see you all next week.
Yeah,
Thank you. Have a great trip.
thanks, Allie. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.